This is Annie with SLC Realty. It is the third Thursday of the month, so we're doing our third Thursday where we interview somebody related to home buying, selling, or occupying. And tonight we are going to be interviewing me. My friend Mark is going to come on our program and do a little interview of yours truly. How's it going?
Good, good,
This is
good.
funny. I'm so used to being the interviewer, so I'll just be like, I'll
Oh,
let you do it.
you're going to be on the hot seat all the next 20 minutes. I hope people get on and ask, like, have questions they want to ask you that, that will embarrass you, but show your personality, and all those fun things.
I feel
So,
like I do that to myself all the time anyway. I just cannot help but be anything but myself to my own detriment sometimes. So
live or die by it, I guess, right? So.
yeah, exactly.
Well, so we're going to start the interview, and I think we'll start with just talking about, like, I'm going to take you and your viewers back to days gone by when Annie was just a young budding out of mountaineering, move to Salt Lake, and maybe we should start there because that's where I met you. Is you moved to Salt Lake? I think you were a ski instructor at Snowbird,
Yep.
and you were just fresh out of dirtbag, and like you had your first like renting a room from people. So tell us why don't you tell us a little bit of history about like how you got here, why you came to Salt
Okay.
Lake? Let's start there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So yeah, I lived in Bishop, California for the better part of a decade, and I was a mountain guide there. I was also a mountain guide in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was married in Bishop, and we were going through a big breakup, but I was still working my way through the American Mountain Guide Association, the AMGA programming. So I came to Salt Lake for a ski guide course. And I had one friend here, and I was like, "Oh, Salt Lake's pretty cool." And he was like, "Dude, you should just like get out of small town life and move here."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, I'll think about it." And then every time I thought about it, I got like that big yes from the universe, you know.
Nice.
And because I lived in a small town, and it was a nasty divorce, and so I came here. And how I met you was I'd been into CrossFit back then. I was like really into
Mhm.
CrossFit,
Mhm.
and joined a CrossFit gym, and you I guess you were just a member there. You were friends with some people I had become friends with.
Yeah, I drink the cult juice as well for
Yep,
CrossFit, so we was, that's how you met people in
yep,
CrossFit. So
yep.
I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I after that course was over, I just decided to, you were right about the dirt bag. I only had climbing and skiing gear in my car. I had an old Pontiac Vibe that I drove out here, and I had been living in an RV in Bishop. I called it my pain cave on wheels. And and so I came out here and just decided to stay. And then I had a rock guide course in Red Rocks, just a little, the next week or month or something. So I went out there for that, and then I came back here, and my friends were like, "What do we do with your stuff in your RV?" I'm like, "Burn it! I don't even care anymore."
Yeah, that's funny, dude.
It's like a
That's funny.
refugee.
I'll tell you, I think about like when I first met you, and I remember my kids were very young at the time, and I was freshly divorced. And I remember I was like looking for a babysitter for something, and you're like, I'll babysit your kids. And I was like, wow. I mean, this girl is like, she's willing to work, Like most people aren't like, oh, you have kids, like get them away from me. And you're like, I'll watch them for you. How much you pay me? Okay, what days? I was like, damn. I was like, I was pretty impressed. So,
Yeah,
and then
always been
let's
a
see.
hustler.
Yeah, always hustling. So, and then you work for the climbing gym, right?
Yeah,
And
so
then.
so I got a job. I was living kind of seasonally, so I got a job guiding with Utah Mountain Adventures. So I
Yeah.
was taking people out climbing and skiing, mostly climbing in the summer times. And then I went into the front climbing club to climb back when it was just a little bouldering gym,
Yeah.
and climbed for the day, and then went up to the front desk, and I said, "You guys don't have any female setters, do you?" And they were like, "How did you know that?" And I was like, "Because I just climbed out there. It feels like a bunch of dudes set
Yeah.
everything." And so I asked to be a setter there. So I was a setter for a while, and then I picked up a front desk shift or two, and then the owner found out that I did graphic design, so I started doing graphic design, and then eventually he asked me to be a manager, so I became a manager of the gym, and then I was like on the roof fixing swamp coolers. I was the lead route setter at one point. I was doing their graphic design. I was doing their summer camp scheduling. I was a coach for the kids. I still have the climbing kids see me in the gym and go, "Oh, hey, our old coach Annie." Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I did
cool.
every possible role there simultaneously. And then
Mm,
the owner put me through a Six Sigma class at the U, and I took over his manufacturing for climbing holds.
yeah.
And it ended up being a lot for both of us,
Yeah.
I think. And
Yeah.
so my tenure ended there after that.
Mm,
It just was a lot of work and pressure. And
yeah.
so we parted ways mostly amicably. So.
What made you decide to choose real estate? I mean, you're at a career, this is now, you had a career here in climbing and guiding, and then you're running the gym and you're building that up, and you built that up to a very successful business.
Yeah.
And they have a fantastic model based on what you laid out for them. And then all of a sudden you leave that, and now what made you decide to come into, I mean, you could have gone into any industry. What made you decide to come into real
Yeah.
estate?
So, I mean, our broker, Mark and I work in the same office. We have the same broker, and he always says that nobody decides to go into real estate. Everybody fails into real
Yeah.
estate in some way or another.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so, during that time when I was working at the front,
Mm,
I bought my first house, and the agent that I used was this old school Dave Bell. He was this old school climber. He put up a ton of routes in Little Cottonwood Canyon. He was friends with the owner of the gym,
mm,
and an awesome guy. And when we were done with the transaction, he was like, "Dude, you should just get your real estate license. You'd be really good at that." And I was like,
yeah,
"Yeah, right." Like, that's like the most sellout thing I've ever heard in my life. Like,
yeah,
absolutely not. But I would
yeah.
tell my friends, I'd be like, "Dude, Dave said I should get my real estate license." And across the board, they were like, "You'd be really good at that." And I was like, "Whatever." But I heard it enough,
Mm,
and after things ended at the front, I didn't have anything else going on. I'm
yeah.
educated, I have a college degree, but um, I went, I don't know, maybe people are right about me. So I kind of got my license on a whim, and it's basically literally been nonstop from there. It turns
Yeah,
out that all my friends knew me well and they were right about it.
yeah,
And like the big analogy that I like to share
mm,
is, I probably had my license for 5 or 6 months, was doing a little bit of
yeah,
business, and I just had this moment one day where I was like, oh my God, I'm taking people out of their comfort zone. People are coming to me saying they want to do a thing. They're coming out of their comfort zone. They're trusting me.
yeah,
I'm not doing the work for them. I'm leading them through a process. I'm helping keep nerves calm.
yeah,
If the weather's bad, I get them out of there. And then if, everything goes well, at the end of the day, we summit. I mean, we buy a house. Holy shit, I've had the same job I've always
yeah,
had. And so once I kind of like discovered that analogy between guiding and real estate, I love it because, a lot of people think of real estate agents as salespeople.
yeah.
And I don't consider
That's right.
myself a salesperson. I'm like, you came to me saying you
Yeah,
wanted to do this thing. I didn't, you can't convince somebody to spend $500,000,
yeah,
turns out.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm consider myself a guide of real estate. Like, I'm here to
yeah,
guide you through the thing that you said that you wanted to do. And then guess what? You can have a little slideshow and show your friends that you climbed Mount Whitney or you bought a house or whatever it is.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think that's really cool. One thing we've known each other for a while, and I've talked to you enough. I love how you've taken the process that led success on getting to somebody, because most people don't realize what it actually takes to get to that point. The
mm,
logistics, the back end, what the knowledge, experience. You got to do your research. You got and even real estate. I think you're doing the same thing. Is you're just taking that same skill set and just applying it here. Obviously you're seeing success and your clients are loving it. So, I mean, just with that being said, I mean, what do you think your clients love about doing business with you that separates you from just every other real estate agent? Because there's a billion of them out there. We both know that. So,
yeah, I think 12,000 in the valley or
yeah,
something.
yeah, that's a
Yeah, I mean,
billion
I
in my
think
book.
yeah, I think what I bring to the table is, I think that most people that get into real estate, again, most people fail into real estate, right?
Mhm.
And so they try to emulate this thing. They see selling sunset, they see people driving these fancy cars, and they see these like realtors, and I think a lot of them are like that. And I think I bring a realness to real estate. And I think that that's why you've been successful also. I think you
Yeah,
and I are set apart from a lot of agents in that we like I feel like we're just human people. Like my tagline on my email says realtor, landlord, human. And that's the reality of it is like I feel like I've always said I'm on the ground with the real people. I'm not in stilettos trying to be a luxury agent. Now, do I sell luxury homes? Yes. But like I'm not trying to be that person. Like if there's a crawl space, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing like boots so that I can make sure that people are buying homes that they're like safe
Yeah.
and happy and proud of, So I think that
Yeah.
that's I take it really personally. Like I always say, when the transaction closes,
Yeah.
my clients still have my phone number. And
Yeah.
so like, why on earth would I do anything nefarious within that?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I want phone calls for an invite for cocktails on their new
Yeah.
patio. I want a phone call. We had a baby, come hold it, you know, and,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
if we need a plumber or electrician and we
Yeah.
trust your recommendations, those are
Yeah.
the phone calls I want. I don't want a phone call about anything else that was something that I could have prevented.
Yeah, so you brought something up there, and I'll just kind of hit on that. But you're talking about you built this relationship through this process that helps them buy the house, because not all your clients like you've known for years. These are people who are being referred to you
Yeah.
from other clients, people who know you do real estate, whether they bought something from you or not. And so you're taking them, and then you're starting from a point of they don't know you, and then they get to know you, and then they get to see how you take care of them.
Mhm.
And then your goal is you built this relationship, and then what does that look like after, for your clients? It's not like you're just like, okay, one and done, I guess, or
Yeah.
like, see you, buddy, and we'll call me when you need something else. But so what are you trying to do for your clients? What do you feel like, do you feel like they call you for those things when you're afterwards?
Yeah, for the most part, they do. And I think one thing in my business that I could be better at is keeping in better contact with those past clients. Like, because we go from being like best friends for like 2 months.
Yeah.
You're with somebody and you're like texting them all the time, you're calling them all the
Yeah.
time, you're going hanging out at houses, you're going to
Yeah.
inspections, you're doing all this stuff. We sit at our closing table, we drink champagne
Yeah.
together. We're like besties. And then the
Yeah.
thing closes. And the reality is I have to move on to my next set of business. And so I could be better at keeping in touch, but what I delight in is that for the most part, I would say with most of my clients, we develop such a rapport that they trust me and they know that after close, if they need anything, they can
Yeah.
call me. And then, I have a lot of client events,
Mm.
I have parties and I send out gifts and, I check in with people. Like if I drive by a house on my way to another house that I've sold, I generally text and be like, hey, I just drove by, like digital
Yeah.
wave.
Yeah.
And so I think that, that helps keep people close. And one of the things, just touching on like,
Mm.
who I work with, they're not necessarily, now, have I helped my best friends buy houses? Yeah,
Sure.
like most
Yeah.
of them, which I'm so grateful for. But, most of my business does come from referrals. And then a
Mm.
lot of business comes from my Instagram too, which I've always loved because anybody who follows me on Instagram knows that I am like my unabashed self on
I
Instagram.
love it too.
And so,
Yeah.
like, if somebody follows me
Mm.
after six, like maybe they're not ready to buy a house yet, but they're kind of like house curious,
Mm.
they follow me. After 6 months, I legitimately feel like those people know what I'm bringing to the table. So
Yeah.
when I sit down with them to talk about real estate, it's not so much like an interview. Like they feel like they already know me. And that's the point, is I want people to like really get to know who I am through my website, my social media, everything that I do, and then obviously like during a transaction and after a
Yeah.
transaction too.
And I think, like your events, I mean, you have some really good events, and, they're thoughtful and you put time into them. And, one of the best things about those, and we've talked about this, is past clients showing up to those,
Hmm.
because you don't get to see them, and it's hard to stay in contact with everybody all the time. And they're busy, they have their own lives and their own friend groups as well.
Yeah.
So those events are really a great place for people to come together. And I think most of your people are all in the same community. They're all outdoor, very active people.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to just come meet people and be involved in a different part of the community with a different twist is coming to your events, I think.
Yeah.
So
And I love, like, there's been times where, people have become friends from my events where I'm like, hey, you guys bought houses just down the street from each other.
yeah,
And then I hear that they had a dinner party together. That's like my
yeah,
favorite thing. Or
yeah,
like, hey, you guys are from, I have a set of clients that like, oh, you guys are from New York. You're from New York. You guys are climbers too. You guys are climbers too. Oh, like, and so now when
yeah,
they're all in town, we all have dinner together. Like
yeah,
we're all homies. I'll be like, oh, hey, these people are in town. You guys should come over too.
yeah,
And I love that like connection making. So the idea is that like if people actually show up to enough of my events, they're going to start recognizing people. So it's
Mm,
not so much they're showing up to an event where they're like, I don't know anybody. They're like, oh, I
mm,
know that so and so will be there. And that
right.
community building is like really, really amazing
I
to
think
me.
that's fantastic too. So, and what we're gonna that kind of I'm gonna transition because we don't have a ton of
Yeah.
time. But I'm gonna say this like we're gonna like you have a client or you have somebody you know and they know somebody out of state. Let's say California or Washington, wherever, some climbing community,
Yeah.
and they have somebody who's thinking about moving here to Salt
Mhm.
Lake City, and they send them to you. What does that process look like for that case? I mean, can you really sell a house to somebody who doesn't live in Utah? You know, can you get a referral from out of state and
Yeah.
call them? So talk about that for just a second.
Yeah, for sure. And on some level, like I think the base of me as a realtor is in education. Like the same thing with guiding. I loved teaching people how to climb, teaching people how to navigate, teaching people like about avalanche education, like that kind of thing. And in real estate, it's the same thing. And when I'm helping somebody from out of state, I get to like peacock more than any other case
Yeah,
because then I can talk about the nuances of each of the communities that I work in, the
yeah,
nuances of like the different types of houses and how old they are and like all the different things, in addition to like I've sold plenty of homes sight unseen, people out of state, they're planning a movie here, they've never been. And it's always a little like nerve wracking when they
yeah,
first walk through that house because we're after close, like it's done, it's a
yeah,
done deal. And you're
yeah.
like, good. But
But
I
they've
always
had
tell
Zoom calls. You've shown them. They've done video calls
we
with
do
you,
we
and
do
yeah, yeah,
tons of video calls. I walk them through, I walk around the neighborhood, I drive them around, like all the
yeah.
things, giving them all that information so that they're comfortable with it. And yeah, it's a really fun way to do things. And additionally, another thing that I love, so a good example is like I had some good friends that lived in Bishop. They were moving down to Southern California,
Mhm,
and they reached out to me because they knew that I'm a realtor, and they're like, hey, do you know any realtors in this area? And I was like,
mhm.
let me find you
Yeah,
one. So, I know the questions to ask and I know the things to look out for and the red flags because we all know that like a lot of realtors are not amazing, right? So I went down there. I didn't go down there, but I, called around and I found these realtors. They became such good friends with my friends that they got invited to their wedding.
wow.
Like they had them over for dinner. Like that was the relationship. And I was like so proud of that.
Yeah,
And I wish more than most things that my out of state friends, before they bought a house in Kansas, California, Florida,
yeah,
whatever, call me so I can help find
yeah.
them a realtor.
Yeah,
And
because
that's
people
one of my
know
favorite things.
we know people, we know what they look for. We're vetting when I have people call, and I'm sure this is what you're telling them right now, is you're vetting who they're going to use before they ever meet them,
100%.
so that they're going to have the experience and they're going to have success and they're going to buy the house they want.
Yeah.
And really, really, I mean, that makes a big difference for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's one
and
of my favorite things.
and I think just as one of the things I really like what you do for your clients is even once you sell them a house, you're bringing them in, showing them how to find community, how to feel like Salt Lake is now your home,
Mhm.
because or where they're living at is just this is now home. Hey, what's available to them? And it really I think puts people at ease and makes people feel like they're more a part of the community. And if they all that, if you can take credit for some of that or all that, I mean, Annie does really good with her clients. So if anybody who's thinking about who's on the bus, you should reach out and just do a consultation. How's that? That's my pitch. How's that? So
One of my, so I'm very proud on Google. I have like, I don't even know what number I'm at now, but I have 100% five-star reviews. And one of my favorite reviews was from some out-of-state clients. They were referred to by another agent. And we had such a fun time shopping for their house. They were just a riot of a couple. They had a family
yeah.
and working up at Hill Air Force Base.
Mhm.
And his review said something along the lines of like, not only was Annie like professional and amazing and helped us find a house out of state, blah, blah, blah. Not only do we have a realtor for life, but we have a friend. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God, that's so cute. And that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that people like when they are moving to the state that they legitimately like, they're like, well, at least we have one friend
Yeah,
here. And it's like, yeah, you absolutely do.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Cool, cool. Okay, then we're gonna just talk about a couple other things here. Um, we there's a lot going on in real estate. Property values are high. So, what do you think how do you take care of your clients so you're protecting them from the pitfalls of real estate, whether they're buying a bad property, you're protecting them legally. Talk about just a little bit of that because I think that's a pretty important thing for people, or should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about it like I don't have kids, but I think about it like any client who's buying a house, I kind of think about it like if I had a kid, would I let them buy this house?
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean when I take it really personally, is again, I don't want those bad phone calls after close. And so one of the things that I think, and I kind of touched on this earlier, that does set me apart is like when I'm looking at houses with people, I'm not just walking around going, oh, it's like really cute. Like, wow, it's so cute. I'm like in the crawl space. I'm looking at the roof. I'm commenting on plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all of those things. So the idea is because I'm a huge proponent of just time management in
Yeah.
general. And like, what is the point to me? What is the point of showing people a house, not really looking at the innards of the house, writing an offer, having them pay for an inspection, and then having it fail for things that I could have seen when we walked through it in the first place? That
Yeah.
would destroy me.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm like looking at as much as I can
Mhm.
with the intent of two things. One is that, I go, are you comfortable paying this amount of money for this house based on what we already know?
Yeah.
Say the seller doesn't want to fix any of these things that we already know about. I saw a knob and tube in the basement.
And
Are you going to try to cancel this contract because of knob and tube in the basement?
yeah, then
If
that's
the answer is yes, we move on. If the
yeah.
answer is like, no, I think we can handle that, I'm
Yeah.
like, cool, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is during the inspection, my goal is when the inspector is going over all the things, I want my clients to be going, oh, Annie told us that. Oh, yeah, Annie told us that. I want them to say that for 70% of that
Yeah.
inspection. Now, an inspection is not my job, but my job
Yeah.
is to protect them, their money, and their time. And I'm not going to waste my time and their time and the seller's time and the listing agent's time writing an offer on a house that's going to fail due to something that I could have seen when I was in it.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's one of the big ways that I protect my client.
Yeah.
And then, even after close, I'm sending up follow-up emails going, did you sign up for sewer line
Yeah.
insurance? Did you get the sewer line insurance? And reminding them over and over of these things. Like,
Yeah.
even at my friends' houses, I'll go over if I see something, I'm like, you need to get that taken care of.
Yeah. Like,
And I'm
here's
like that.
my guy. Call him.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
here's my guy. Like, when are you gonna like, hey, last time I was here, that was a thing and it's a bigger thing now. You need to take care of that.
Yeah.
So like whether it's my friends or clients, I'm just like a house nerd at the end of the
Well,
day.
and what you're describing is really you're breaking the perception of what real estate agents are. Because what people think a realtor is like you're over there like, hey, like here, you want to buy a watch, and like, like
100%.
like they're buying a car, like it's some car, like some shiciness, but real estate is really your agency. You're there. You're doing the agents. What you're doing was right for the agent. We have some things that we do and that we go by in order to give them this experience and be able to buy a house and know that the thing's right and they've done everything.
Yep.
Not you're not just selling houses,
Yep.
and people pick that up and I think they appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah.
For sure.
Okay, how much time we got? Are we
I mean,
20, 30, 80, 50?
we're
We're
we're at we're at
part
we're at like
two.
25 now. Let's do like 5 more minutes or
Okay.
something.
Okay. We're gonna do okay, we're gonna just say I have some lightning round questions.
Okay.
So we're gonna start. This is the lightning power hour. Favorite food.
Probably um street tacos on Mission Street in San Francisco.
Street tacos. Have you not? Wait. We get. Have you not had the tacos from the taco stand on 8 South, just below State
Oh,
Street?
oh,
Wait.
those are
Wait. Wait.
nothing.
Wait. Wait. Wait.
We're talking about Mission Street tacos in San Francisco.
I'm talking about carnitas.
It
I'm
doesn't
talking
even
about.
compare.
They don't even speak English to
This is a
people. They
lightning
won't even talk
round.
to
It
you.
was my answer, not
Oh,
yours.
okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right. So street talk. What about here in Salt Lake? Which favorite? What's your go-to in Salt Lake?
Um, I really love Arlo Restaurant. I live in Marmalade, and it's a little restaurant up here. They use local organic produce, and it's a cute atmosphere. Everything about even their little butter is shaped like a little cute thing.
Oh.
Like everything about it is cute, and it's locally owned. It's one of my favorite restaurants in Salt Lake. I have a lot of favorite restaurants, but that's definitely the top.
Arlo's the one right now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite drink. What do you like to? What's your go-to? Do you drink soda
Um,
pop, coffee, martinis? What?
So historically, I've been quite a drinker, but in the past 4 or 5 months, I've been seriously cutting back, and I really love a Lagunitas Hop Refresher.
Mm.
It's, non-alcoholic, but it comes in a beer bottle. It's really
Mm.
refreshing. It's got that hoppy kick of like a beer or
Yeah.
something, and it's really nice.
So
Yeah.
non-alcoholic and yeah, I think you're right. Some of those they're actually pretty good. So
Yeah.
okay, music. What are you listening to right now? Do you got a favorite
You
or
know,
something
the
that's in your for?
reality of music in this day and age for me is Spotify knows me better than I know myself, and it knows me better than any of my friends know me.
Yeah.
And they put together a Discover Weekly every week, and it's like they're hitting my soul. And the sad thing about it is these bands that I listen to all the time from this
Mhm.
could be in town and I would have no idea who they are. That's
Yeah.
the sad. It's just
Yeah.
become this sort of like generic music. But my Spotify, like if somehow Spotify shut down and lost all of its data, I would die. I would die.
I agree. The algorithm they have for Spotify for Discover, my weekly put togethers
It's
for like
unreal.
chill, whatever it is fan. I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
You're making it easy for
You're
me.
making
So yeah,
my life better. It improves my quality of life every day.
yeah. Okay, so then I know you're a big reader. So what book are you reading right now?
So I joined a book club recently,
Oh,
and our book this month is called Witchcraft, like a 13 stories of trials or something like
mhm.
that. And I have to say, it's been like a little slow for me to get into.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing, but I have on the lineup on like my personal thing, I think it's called The Body Keeps the Score.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited about that. And it's how like our body keeps track of like traumas and different pains, and it affects how our body works. And I'm just really excited to like learn more about that as we get older and we get more aches and pains. It becomes
You're like
like,
wake up.
yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
why is my knee hurt this morning?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're getting a storm in.
Why is my
Yeah,
hand
yeah.
in
Well,
pain
that's gonna be a
whenever it
big one.
rains?
The left knee's really acting up.
Must be a low pressure
Okay.
system.
Yeah. Yeah, funny. Okay. What about do you have a book what's made the biggest impact on your life or
Oh,
that you think about a lot?
oh man. So there's this book that I read last year. Oh my God, what is it called? Oh, I'm gonna forget what it's called in this moment. Um, God, I can't think of it. But it was this story about it was a story about a female pilot in like the 1920s when there like weren't female pilots.
Yeah.
And it was so rich and so deep and so amazing that I was like, I want to read more books about this woman. So after I read the book, I'm looking it up, and it was a fictional
Oh, it's
character.
all
And
fiction. No
this
kidding.
author did such an amazing job weaving the story that I thought it was a real person. And what he had actually done is researched like um, very deeply on a bunch of female pilots during that time, and then sort of combined them all into this one character.
Yeah.
And it was just such an amazing book. And then I reread The Miracle Morning recently. This is kind of like the typical realtor answer.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, that book is a really good one. If you haven't read it before, I have this wildly anal retentive morning routine that I've been doing for years, and it vacillates and changes and stuff. But I am such a proponent of like, if you start your day out right in the
Mhm.
morning, everything else will fall into place for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny is I just listened to an interview with Gary Keller, who obviously is the CEO of Keller Williams, and the guy's nominated, rec, blah blah blah. But he's a super smart guy, and he talks about that too. He talks about winning your day at the
Mhm.
first part of the
Yeah.
day. Everything else falls into place from
Yeah.
there. So I love that. Um, okay, I know you've traveled a lot, and you've been. So do you have a favorite place that you visited?
Um, Mallorca. Mallorca
And
has been, yeah, I've been probably 5 times or so, and there's just something about that place that just, it's an island off of Spain for folks that don't know,
mm,
and it's this wildly diverse island. So you can go canyoneering, you can go surfing, you can go climbing.
mm,
There, Seco Block, deep water solaring was invented there. It's surrounded by rocks. It's got art and culture, and it's beautiful, and the food is amazing, and it's culturally a bit different than Spain. It's got its own language, and
Yeah.
it's just this amazing place. And I hope that someday I will end up there.
Right then.
That's the
You know,
goal.
I just watched a documentary on that place like maybe 6 months ago, and
Hmm.
I was like, this island looks like, I mean, like, why go to Spain when you can just go there,
Yeah.
kind of a thing? Because they
Yeah.
had everything. You could hike, run. They had this little
Everything.
stream that
Yeah.
takes water around that you can that have hiking
Yeah.
paths that follow. Beautiful place.
Incredible place.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Um, okay, let's see. Have I asked you anything that you'd want to tell your people or that they don't know about you? Is there something I'm missing?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, obviously everybody is like nuanced and has all kinds of things. I like to talk a lot lately about the sailing thing.
Yeah.
Like almost 2 years ago, I started learning how to sail, and it's like really changed my
Mm,
life. And it's been such a delight. And I
mm,
think that in real estate, like basically I didn't take a vacation for like 8 years.
yeah.
And, I would go places
Mm,
during that time, but the whole time I was there, I was working.
mm,
And sailing has been such, like, sounds kind of cheesy to say, but such an
yeah.
inspiration that I'm able now to like include it in my life by buckling down and organizing my business more. Because what I want to be able to do is go out and not have to be working that time. And what happens with that is I'm more motivated leading up to the trip because I have something to look forward to
Yeah.
and I'm excited about. And after the trip, I come home refreshed and happy. And so, like, I think before I thought, oh, if I'm taking vacations all the time, my clients will not be able to rely on me and they'll think that
Mm,
I'm just like gone all the time and I just travel and I'm
yeah.
not focusing on them. But it's kind of been the opposite.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, all of my time and attention is spent on them so that I am able to do this thing that kind of is for them in the
Yeah.
end. Because I
Yeah.
was getting so burnt out
Yeah.
and lacking empathy in the process and feeling resentful of my own career. There was a period of time that I was feeling very resentful of my own
Yeah.
career. And being able to incorporate these trips to beautiful places, like I'm wildly
Mm,
privileged that I can afford it and that I can do
sure.
that, but it's helped kind of like tidy up my business in a lot of ways too that I'm really proud
Yeah.
of. And so that's like becoming, I guess, part of my personality is the
Yeah.
sailing thing. But it's
No.
something that I'm really proud of and excited.
Well, yeah, and I've known you for a long time. So when I heard you were picking up selling, I was like, you're picking up selling that I think it'd be like, oh, something in the mountains, or that seemed to be your passion for so long. But I love that one of the things I respected about you when I heard that was like, hey, you're trying something new. And most people as they get older, they don't want to do it. They want to try something new, but here's Annie out there learning how to sell. And then we see, we all follow you on Instagram, so we see the pictures of you selling, and
Yeah,
it's inspiring, because it makes you like, hey, maybe you can do it, because that's what I feel like, because I see people do that stuff. And certainly, you want I want that's I mean, I think it's pretty cool. But what you
yeah,
did say that I thought was great for your clients was that, and I found this is when you get out there and you're away and you're just focused on you doing, your thing. When you come back, you're clear-minded, clear-headed, and then you're focused. You don't feel like there's no regret. You're not wishing you were
yeah,
someplace else.
yeah,
You're very present, and then that pays off with how you treat your
yeah,
clients, how you
yeah,
treat people around you, because it's not just that you're selling houses.
yeah,
I mean, it's your philosophy on life is how you're doing life.
yeah,
That's how you're taking care of your clients.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think that yeah, it's just real estate is a hard business to be in. I think
yeah,
people who get into it, I'm sure you've had a lot of people that come to you and go, oh, I'm thinking about getting my license. What do you think about that? And I think that a lot of the times they'll think, oh, this will be great. I won't have a boss. I'll have like, a flexible schedule. And we probably do the same thing where we go, yeah, that's not how
yeah,
it goes.
yeah, yeah,
Like my working hours are, I turn my phone off at 8 p.m. and it turns back on at 8 a.m. So
right,
my working hours are from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a
yeah,
week. And there are a lot of trips where I do end up working anyways, as
yeah,
hard as I might try to not. So you're on constantly. Anytime you're out in public, you could run out into clients. So you're kind of always thinking about your business on a constant
yeah,
basis. And if you don't take the time to kind of remove yourself from that occasionally, like I didn't do for a very long time, it can start to truly eat you alive. And so, and trying something new, like my biggest thing with real estate and how guiding was too is I have the most respect for people that are willing to step outside of their comfort zones. And whether you're climbing Mount Whitney or you are buying a house, that is outside of your comfort zone. And so it turns out that every single person I work with, I have the utmost respect for. And I think that it's really important for me to make sure that I'm occasionally finding myself outside of that comfort zone too, because it's something that I respect so much in other people that sometimes I have to take a step back and go, when was the last time you were really scared? And I think people see me on Instagram and sailing and they're like, oh, Annie really loves it. But I will tell you that it scares the living shit out of me very frequently. It is, to me, a very scary sport. And there is character building in that for sure.
Well, we don't need a lot of more character from you. I'm just going to say that. If you all know Annie, she doesn't need a lot of character. So,
Not enough character.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost out of time. I'm just going to swing it back around and just anybody who's listening to this or sees this, who's thinking about moving to Salt Lake or buying a house or I guess selling the same thing, doing some kind of a transaction in Salt Lake. Tell just in a quick, what's the market doing? What do you think, what's going on in the market and what are there opportunities out there or is it horrible and we should all just move to Canada or dig a hole or what? Tell us what's going on in real estate right now.
Yeah, it's terrible. You should just keep renting. No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
done. Okay, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
Have a
thanks.
good day. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And we kind of talked about this earlier on a personal call, but it's a funny market right now. The beauty about Salt Lake. So here's what I'll say about Salt Lake in general. There's no other place on the planet that you can be skiing within 40 minutes of your house. You can fly nonstop to Amsterdam. You can see Metallica in concert, have a really great meal of food and a great cocktail
Pick up
that you
two
can
wives,
visit,
kind of
30,
thing.
yeah, that you can visit, 37 different amazing national parks within a 7-hour drive. Like there's no place else like that. Additionally, we've got mountains east to west and lakes north to south. So we've got a very small amount of property that has the potential to be somebody's home. And so as far as an investment goes, this is hands down, I believe, one of the best places you can possibly invest. And I put my dollar to my whatever that
Put your money
expression.
where your mouth is.
There we go. Yeah. I'm like something about a dollar in my mouth or money where your mouth is. I own a lot of rental properties here. I have a personal house here, etc. So that's the first thing that I'll say. When 2008 happened, Salt Lake City wasn't hit nearly as hard as other places. When COVID happened here, our real estate market went crazy, and so it's a really safe place to invest. But it changes all the time. And right now our days on market are up. We've got interest rates that we thought they were going to take this crazy dip when the Feds announced a 50 basis point, decrease, and there's another one coming up. But they've stayed pretty stable. And so it's resulted in this market that I feel like this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but I like it. Like during the COVID years, I was like telling people like, can you ask your grandma for more money? Can you ask your lender? Can you take out a second job? Like, can you get more money? And right now I'm getting buyers, new roofs and a lot of repairs and things like that. But I'm also getting sellers pretty damn good prices on their houses. Most of them are sitting on $150,000 in equity if they bought in the past 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, especially and more if it's more than that. And so even though, our days on market are up and things feel a little bit like they're just not as exciting as they were during the COVID years, I actually feel like it's fair for everybody right now. The sellers are still making a ton of money from what they paid on their houses, and buyers are able to negotiate repairs and get what feels like a deal to them. And so, I'd much rather have it like this than in the COVID years. If you're going to buy a house, you have an opportunity. If you've got, I always joke that I was born by a swap meet flea market blue collar family. So your girl can negotiate. And I love being able to flex that muscle in this market. And then on the seller side, it's taking a little bit more patience, but at the end of the day, they're still making a lot of money compared to what they bought their house from.
I agree. I think that I'll say this, that I think there's opportunity coming up in the next 3 to 5, 6 months. And that look, there people want to move here, and you're even if you buy something, you're not buying at the top of market right now.
Mhm.
There's still room in there for growth,
Yeah.
and we're going to continue to see growth there.
I mean,
So,
in our,
um,
like, if you just look at the data, it goes like that. It doesn't matter. Like during, it's
yeah,
actually, my wrist was a good
yeah,
little, this was 2008, and then it
yeah,
just kept going again,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah. I think you're right. I think clients who love to be outdoors and they like activities that are outdoor oriented, it's a hard place not to want to live.
absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So should I
Lot
say
to like.
call Annie if you want to buy, or at least talk about the options to buy or to sell? You should at least call you and
Yeah.
let you
Follow me
see.
on Instagram,
Yeah,
follow me on TikTok, and yeah,
yeah.
and I'm here for it. So
Okay, and then if we wanted to know about anything else, anything else you want to tell your clients or your followers or your peoples or anything like
I
that?
I think we've covered it all. I want to thank you, Mark, for being. I mean, Mark is another high producing agent in our office, and it takes a lot of like um, uh, balls, I guess, for lack of a better word, to like interview another agent and build up their business. And that's what I love about Keller Williams is like we're all here to build each other up, and we know that there's an agent for every person that's a right fit. And so I just want to thank you too. I mean, I think it's really
Oh, thank
classy
you.
of you to offer to interview me on my own channel to build
Yeah.
my own business when you've got a business to build too.
Well,
And Mark's a great realtor too. If during this interview you liked him better, then go with him.
Well, I don't look as cute as you. Also, there nobody's calling me. But I'll say this: I've known you for a long time, and I've seen how you do business, and I see how you take care of your clients. And I have a mad respect for you. I think you're a top agent for sure. And I mean, look, I know you're taking care of your people, and I trust that what you say is really what's going on in the market. You're putting your best effort forward. I mean, dude, who doesn't want to do business with someone like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
How's that?
Thanks, bud.
Okay, well, let's see. I think that'll be it unless there's anything else that you can think
No,
of.
I think we're good, and we're way past our time limit, so
I know
we'll
we
let
are.
these people go.
What, real estate agents talk for a long time? That's crazy.
I was
So,
like, you've got two people with the gift of gab on one Instagram live.
yeah, I know. Next time we're gonna have it's gonna be a drink. We'll have martinis. We'll have a mixology, and we'll invite other people, and then it'll be a long
Yeah,
time. So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
perfect.
Okay, well, thanks again, and good
All
luck.
right, thanks.